This is a video to show you how to repair shoes with Shoe Goo. In fact, it's actually more than that. This is a pair of old friend moccasins that are really... This was more of an experiment to see how long I could make a pair of moccasins last. If you did preventative maintenance on them, and I actually didn't do preventative maintenance on it. This is actually a spot that I had repaired with Shoe Goo, and you can see where these wear spots are on this pair, which is my left shoe. So you can see where I've been tending to wear these out in certain spots. This is kind of a dual video where I'm showing you how to apply Shoe Goo, but this primarily isn't for the reason of repairing a shoe. It's actually being preventative and actually applying Shoe Goo in places where you know it's going to wear out. Like these, I've got a new pair of these and I know where these are going to wear out, so I'm going to apply Shoe Goo in these spots. And I'll show you an example of what I've done, and this is the before and the after for the same shoe. You can see here where I've taken the Shoe Goo, which is very interesting material. I'm very jealous of the man who invented it. I've got 23 patents, and none of them I don't think are as good as this one. If he has a patent on it at all, I think it's trade secret. But anyway, you can see here where there's a wear pattern along here, up along in here, and what I've done is taken Shoe Goo and actually put it in these spots where I know there's going to be wear happening. Shoe Goo is a lot harder. This material here is probably a Shore, I don't know, 60 or 70. Shore B, if I remember right. There's a way to categorize how soft rubber is, and Shoe Goo is a lot harder than that. So, you know, in this instance, it kind of helps, you know, the little wear spots. And in general, you're not compromising the flexibility of the shoe itself, but you know, at the same time you're able to keep the wear down. So, you know, in the heel down here where it wore, I put Shoe Goo in this, and you can see that this has a kind of a pattern to it. See the little ripple pattern right there? So you're not compromising the gripping of this at all, because this has nice little, you know, grippers, you know, on it. So basically, and in general, these old friends really last a long time. They're my favorite. I've gone through several different varieties over the years, and these are the ones that tend to last the longest. But I've made these last about 2.5, 3 years. I could probably get more out of this. I mean, I could do a special video on this one. What other things to do for this type of moccasin to make them last even longer. But for this video, I'm just showing you how to apply Shoe Goo to certain areas that are wearing down, so you can make them last longer. So here, I've got the old shoe here, and you can see on this one the wear pattern on the right shoe is not as bad. I got one here, got one in the toe right here, and the heel here. Actually, is this the, oh, what's this one? This is the other one. I need this one. This is the one for here. Okay, so this is the left one. So you see you got the pattern here in the toe, and I've had these for about a week, and you can see where it's already wearing down right there. See it on the toe? It's already starting again. So it's my bad posture, whatever, translating down to the base. And here you got the wear spots aren't as visible in these center spots, so I probably won't do anything here. And there isn't really a comparable edge spot here. There is, but there isn't. You know, it's not enough to be putting it on there right now. On the heels, you can see this is primarily the web spot, the spot where I've fixed before with Shoe Goo after damage already occurred. The idea is to go ahead and put it under before. Like I said, this material here is like a softer rubber. It's like a Shore 60 or 70 on a B scale. And, you know, basically you get in there. See, look how I'm wearing these down already, and I've only had these for, you know, a couple weeks. So my idea is to go ahead and put Shoe Goo in these areas before these little deformations in here, you know, get rubbed down to the point where they're not really good for much holding anything. And it's kind of hard to get Shoe Goo to stick to something that's perfectly flat. It tends to want to ride up, you know what I mean? So it's kind of a problem. So how you do your normal surface treatment for these things is, and that's everything. Things like this, when you're applying glues, surface preparation is the thing that makes it work. And what you do is you take a wire brush like this, and you go ahead and you scrub these areas. And the way you scrub them, it makes a big difference. And what you do is you go in and you make a circular pattern like this, and you kind of go into the places where you want and make a circular pattern. Go ahead and go all the way around and scrub. And go ahead, scrub in here, and go up on the edge a little bit. And you can do a brushing motion too, but you can see that's really getting getting ground up in there. And it's just basically roughing up that edge, because see, when you apply, this is already cured elastomer. And when you apply just anything else to it, it's not going to stick. There's no chemical bonding here. The only bonding you have is mechanical. So, you know, the only way you're going to get a good mechanical bond is to actually have something for it to grip to. And then if on a you know, microscopic, but kind of a little higher with that macroscopic level, if you kind of rough this up, it gives any kind of adhesive. If it's silicone, like silicone glue or anything like that, you know, it gives it a good place to stick onto. I'm going to go ahead and do, I think it was the toe. Where are we at here? Was it this one? Yeah, it was the toe, like right along here. So once again, I'm going to go ahead and run this on there. Rough it up. Doesn't take very long. This isn't something that really just takes a lot of your time. But, you know, like I said, I can get almost 3 years out of this. These are kind of expensive. This is basically buying 3 pairs of shoes for just a little bit of time and effort, material I'm putting in right here. Okay. So, you know, as you're watching this, you know, this is kind of the time it takes to do this. I'm not kind of extending or slowing down very much to show what's going on. One thing you might want to do, this is very... once you got this scratched up, you'll need to make sure it's clean. And a good way to do that is to take solvent, like an acetone, which is really nail polish remover. And it's also, since they don't do chlorinated fluorocarbons anymore for brake cleaner, they've had to use acetone. And they also use tetrafluoroethane, which is dry cleaning solvent, a dry cleaning solvent, which is, you know, it's really good for taking out stains. Believe it or not, brake cleaner fluid, there's 2 different kinds. The tetrachloroethane you can use to take out stains. You kind of put it over a waste paper basket and blow through the cloth backwards. Takes the stain right out of whatever you want to have. But this one here is acetone. So I don't know if it will zoom in on that. But right here you can see it's acetone. And what I do is I'm going to tip it away and tip it over here on the waste paper basket and just lightly spray it a little bit. And up on the toe. I'm going to spray it a little bit. So there you go. You know, if you really want to get ambitious about what's going on, you could light it up to evaporate, you know, the acetone. Kind of get it going. Heat it up so, you know, the acetone goes away. Acetone will, you know, plus it doesn't smell up your room as bad. But the acetone, you know, tends to evaporate slower. It does evaporate very fast if it's warm outside. It doesn't have to be warm in my room right now. So you know, if you do that, it tends to evaporate it quicker. Plus, it's better. It's warm, so it's going to stick, you know, the Shoe Goo. Now, obviously, you know, one of the considerations you're going to have for Shoe Goo is you don't want it like coming up here on the outside, because you know, want these things to half-waist decent. You can wear. I wore these accidentally in town, running around. No, people don't notice. How often do people look at their shoes? Is from them.
I mean, seriously.
I can't remember.
How often do you really look at a man's shoes?
Basically, how often do people look at your shoes? They don't really often. So there's a way you can do this where you can protect this, and you don't have to have masking tape. And what I'm using to do all of my operations with, and this is what's responsible for setting up this little grooving that was apparent in the other pair. This grooving down here, which actually, you know, supplements, it's harder material, but you don't want this to be flat and slick. This actually, the grooving set up by, you know, how I'm running my fingers along the tape that I'm showing. And this here is basically saran wrap. This is basically a roll that's basically saran wrap. And you can buy this stuff, but you see it's very stretchy. And if you wrap it on itself and pull it tight, it'll stick. So this is the kind of material that I'm going to be using to manipulate the Shoe Goo to get it to form a nice smooth edge, contain it to a border, and then move it around so I can get a nice rounded, you know, tapering spot that goes into the material where I need it. So I'm going to go ahead and apply Shoe Goo on this. So you can see pretty much what I'm doing and how easy it is. Shoe Goo is something that, you know, once you get it going, you kind of need to keep it going. It tends to, and over here where you can't see it, I'm scooping some of it out of the nozzle. I'm scooping it out so I'm getting rid of some of the stuff that's in the beginning of the nozzle. I'm just wiping it out into the waste paper basket, so I don't have to deal with it. Yeah. What I'm gonna do is basically put a bead of it along this edge. And I'm going to kind of look at, not through the camera, but I'm kind of look at what I'm doing here. So I'm just putting a fairly big bead along here. Okay, so kind of like going like that. And you see how that is? Kind of like, see how that is? That's not too bad. Okay, so I'm going to move around and form that with this stretch tape. And the way you do that is you kind of pull it backwards. You know what I mean? So you got the tape like this, and then you kind of put the tape along here. And you kind of hold it with your finger, and you pull it tight, and you pull it against this outside edge bead of your shoe. Okay? So you just pull, pulling. What I'm doing is I'm stretching to make sure that this glue doesn't get out of control, and it slipped off. So I'm going to try it again. I'm going to try it with another piece. It didn't stick to the edge, so I need to pull it down farther. So it sticks to that edge bead along your shoe. Let's pull it tight, like that. And you can kind of pull it and tear it. Okay. So here you are, and I've got this, and you can see where the shoe goo here is kind of formed up on this edge. You know, and I can start moving it around a little bit, moving it down. So I'm trying to get into that area that showed that was worn on this shoe right here. See right there? So I'm kind of moving it into that spot, into that clean spot, you know, that rough spot that I made. Kind of getting it moved down. Okay, so here we go. And you kind of see these little folds where the tape isn't exactly conforming to, you know, the shape that I actually wanted it to, which is not possible. You know, I could stretch it real tight and get it. But you see you get these little ridges forming. That actually is like gripping. So it's actually good because you had a nice knobby surface to begin with. You don't want to get rid of it by making it all flat. So go ahead and, you know, the tape folding over on itself while you're doing this is a good way to keep that on the shoe pattern. So I'm doing this and pulling this around, and I'm making sure when I run my finger along here that it's not going over the side. It's hooking into these knobs in this brushed rough area. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, and you can see the glue right here sneaking out underneath of this. I'm going to do it again. Okay. If I didn't pull this tape to where I can't find the end of it, which is always the problem with this tape. Super thin tape. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go straight. I'm going to do a direct attack right across that area right there. I'm going to take it over the top of the shoe, back down, and back around. Okay, so I've got that going for me right there. Pull it back up on top, and then pull it, and then tear it. Okay, so here we go. We got the total envelope, you know, with shoe goo underneath of it, and now you can take your fingers and manipulate it around, and it's not that bad. And if you're worried about it leaking out and cross leaking out, it shouldn't do that. She should be fine. So I'm moving it around, and then you can kind of, if you want to, go ahead and take, you know, your shoe and kind of roll it, and then also kind of go down flat a little bit. And if you want to, eventually go up in here with your fingers and kind of move around like you would, you know, your toes and your ball of your foot, to kind of smooth that around and get that flattened out. Because you don't want a big blob out there, a big hump. You want that kind of flattened out. And you can kind of see right now it's pretty flattened out. For what this is doing right now and the shape it's in right now, I'm going to leave that go. Okay, so go down here to this end, and basically that's the same thing. So you can see where I've gone in here. And this didn't wear this bad when I first got these first pair of old friends. So the durometer is what they call this, you know, of the softness of the material, is actually a lot softer than the original pair I bought. The pair I showed to where I was doing things. Okay, so here we go. Going to put the shoe goo right along the edge here. Look the bead of it, and the bead's probably like 1/4 to 3/8 in diameter, and I'm drawing it around because it'll flatten out fairly well for even that amount of material. So I'm drawing it up to here. Okay, there we go. Now we're set. I'm gonna put the cap back on this shoe goo. And you can see this is pretty worn, so I've used this a lot. Like I said, I'm kind of envious of the guy who invented that. You know, I've done some research to try to find out what's in it, and he never says. So anyway, he gives a very vague. I think it's actually PVC. It's a PVC polymer chain that isn't quite PVC yet, and it was probably one of the screw ups somebody made when they were trying to develop it. So here I am. I'm running across the bead. Okay, so I want to make sure that I get this pulled in so I'm not getting shoe goo all over the good part of my shoe. And I made the same mistake I did last time. Did you see it? So you got to pull it against that rubber part on the edge to get it to stick. So I'm down here, getting on the good rubber part, and I'm pulling. And the pull, when you pull, that makes it stick. It's coming around, coming around. I'm coming around. Here we go. And I'm getting down into here. I'm going to go ahead and hold tight and pull and to tear. Okay, so we're basically doing the same thing we did before. Just need to conform the shoe goo that's under this kind of like little protective layer here. Okay. And it's already starting to get into the edge here where it's kind of getting ready to seep out. But I'm moving it around a little bit, getting it down to where I need it to be. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to go ahead and guess what? More tape. And I probably spent about maybe 5 minutes on this if I wasn't talking. And this part here, I'm going to go over the part that I already did once. Okay. And I'm going over the top. See, I'm not real specific about this just to make sure that I cover it. I need to lap it. But beyond that, I'm not really precise with this tape. Okay, so now we got this entire area where I need to manipulate covered. So here we go. Now I'm moving it from the outside edge, kind of massaging it in, and you kind of feel when you bottom out on the tread, you know, that's about where your limit is, and then you can get the built up area right in here. Moving it around, and once here's these little grippers that are going to form because the tape I can't pull it tight enough to get it to conform without having sags in it. Well, the sags fill up and they turn into little gripper ridges, which is good because that's what you need. You're kind of taking out the dimples by putting this preventative material in for wear. So, but you're getting rid of all the little knobbies on there. So you really need to have some kind of gripping augmentation to it. And that actually, you know, the little wrinkles in this tape actually do a good job of providing it. So you can see on the tape here, you can see where it's smoothing out. Okay, that's fine. Good. And I'm just making kind of, you know, subtle movements with my thumb to kind of move it around. Okay. Once we get this to the point where you can feel kind of with your fingers, it's not got a big hump on it. And this is all protected underneath there, and it's all smushing out. So, you know, there's not a lot of, you know, oh my God, going to go happen. You're not going to have a big lump underneath there if you just do these kind of basic steps. One thing's most important, you don't have shoe goo all over your good part of your slipper. That's probably the most, you know, the biggest part that you need to worry about. So you see what I've got is I'm putting my fingers inside and kind of rolling it. So you could roll from the outside and roll to the inside, you know, roll it back and forth, kind of work that glue this way, kind of like you were doing a heel toe movement with your shoe. So put your fingers in, kind of do heel, rotate it, roll it around, heel toe. Okay, there we go. So I'm moving my fingers now and I'm pushing down the inside. So I'm moving it around, kind of flattening out. If there's a hump there, it's not going to be one now. Okay, so here we go. And I'm just feeling it right now. And that feels good. I mean, it's fairly smooth. So here we go. Like I said, once you do this, and it takes probably about, 8 hours for this to really get to the point where you take this plastic off. You can use saran wrap, but you're going to have one big sheet. In fact, you could use it and just stretch the whole thing if you're really talented, but I like to use the little pieces. You really could use saran wrap if you wanted to, but once you have to do it, you have to pull it down here, you have to get it on down here, and then you have to kind of stretch it around. So I don't know how that works, because it, you know, and if you could cut your saran wrap up in strips, well, that's fine, but you know how saran wrap is a pain in the ass. Saran wrap is a pain in the ass anyway. So I don't know how you cut it into strips. And this, you can buy it. I've seen it around. It's really super cheap. Really good for bundling stuff. That's what it's meant for, is to wrap around things to make small bundles, you know. I've used it to put, you know, make bundles of bark, you know, for lighting in a fire, or just bundle small pieces of material up, just bundle it up, you know what I mean? So you can store it away and you don't have loose things flopping all over the place. I've used it as a bind up too before, is to carry them around, just put a couple straps on there. I've used it all kinds of places. So this stuff is really good if you wanted to buy it, and just, it doesn't cost very much at all. So here we got this completed, and like I said, when you get down to, what does it look like? What's the finished product look like? Well, once again, here we go. So, you know, you'll pull it off, and the tape will come off fairly well, and you got a fairly rough surface here. You can just kind of see how the light's reflecting on my desk here. You can see this is fairly rough, and that's what you want, but it's not, you know, there's not a big hump there. So there you go. So it's basically a material which about 3 or 4 times the hardness of this material. This is good gripping material, which is kind of what you want if it's wet outside, or, you know, you're going out on the front porch in the morning. Or I wear these slippers everywhere. I do stuff with these that I really shouldn't. If I happen to forget my work boots when I go out to the building, my barn, and it's concrete floor in there, and I'm heck with it. Just keep working. You know what I mean? Just as long as I'm not dropping, heavy stuff and work heavy stuff, I drop something on my toe. But anyway, these I use these things for everything. But it's nice to have a good, nice, soft gripping surface here. And, gripping surface that you're putting back in with the ridges and the tape, but it's harder. You see what I mean? This is going to wear like iron compared to this. So, in 3 years, believe it or not, 3 years, I could get 3 years out of these things. And, there's some things that you need to do up here, like run a bead of super glue down here to soak that in and get those seams, get those threads, like, turn them into iron so that they're not going to fray away. And then this little edge where, like, this is the top zone, I think is what they call it. But, just run with an insulin needle, just run along here and get the super glue down along that edge and make sure that those two pieces of leather are tied together, so you're not stressing out these threads, which eventually you'll braid and then they'll come apart. And if you really wanted to, you could actually super glue a little bit, and it wicks down inside of those and turns those into little wires almost. So, they're not going to be causing any problems when they fray in the future. So I just wanted to pass that along. Like I said, that's a good way to use super glue in a preventative manner. Whether you're doing it to repair or whether you're doing it to prevent, I showed you the way I'm using it to prevent. Wearing a shoe where I said, I knew exactly, what the wear pattern was going to be. So basically, I went in and put the Shoe Goo in where, I knew it was going to wear. So I'm trying to keep these lasting a long time. So when I get them broken in and stuff, and they don't really break in that long. But, I can wear these for a long, long time and get maybe 2 or 3 different, and it still looks nice over time. And I can get maybe, save almost $150, almost $200, which you can use for other things, just simple things. And I spent like maybe 5 or 6 minutes with some Shoe Goo and some tape and, a little wire brush. So not too bad. So I thought I'd pass that along as kind of cost-saving thing. You keep your favorite slippers running for a lot longer than you normally think they would. So see you later.